So I've had my business about 4 years now, and in that time I have made some pretty big mistakes. Now this is probably because my artist brain definitely isn't that much of a business brain. That said, I am improving somewhat, so I wanted to make a video about how an artist can also try and have a bit of a business brain. Now, I've loved art and drawing since a very, very young age, and I know I've spoken previously a little bit about why I got into drawing and the background behind that, but in all honesty, when I first started my business, I had no idea where to begin. Now, business is defined, according to Google, as a person's regular occupation, profession or trade, which obviously means you need to make and sell products or services. However, I have found that being an artist is quite a solitary journey. So you build a relationship between yourself and your artwork, the piece of work you're producing. When you have this mindset, it can be extremely hard to even share your work, let alone put a monetary valuation on it. So in terms of starting a business, here are just a few tips that I've come up with, and I hope that they can possibly help you along the way in starting your art journey or your art business, or any business in general. Hopefully my tips are collectively as whole as an art, like as a creative person for any business. Anyway, moving on. So my first tip would be to just start small. If you're genuinely passionate about art and creating, then we live in a generation where it's never been simpler to share your work online. Personally, I wouldn't have a business without social media, without Instagram, but especially without Facebook. Facebook was where it all started for me. So even though I know a lot of people know that I think social media can be such a negative beast, on the flip side, it is one of the most incredible tools that you can use for business. So this kind of follows on a little bit to step 2, which would be being creative and not following a traditional path. So your 9-to-5 office job is so admirable for most people. So I can almost guarantee that you sharing your work online will help you so much in gaining confidence. And obviously in turn, that will mean that hopefully you can start considering it maybe as a business venture too. So in my opinion, on my journey, the more work you share, the more your following will grow, the more you'll attract people that are attracted to the work that you produce, and this is a fantastic place to be. I found that when you start attracting people, then you can start getting small commissions, which is where I kind of come on to next. So using Instagram is, for me anyway, it started off as a visual art journey, so it's a place where I could condense all of my work, so I could scroll back. I still use it now when people say to me, what did you do 2-3 years ago? I can go, oh, no problem. I can just scroll back through Instagram and show them sort of how my work has changed and possibly improved and things like that. So obviously the more you start sharing, it's a bit of an ego thing, but people will start liking it, and it will give you confidence. I think if you're not a creative person and you just decide to start drawing one day, and you share that online, you will be surprised at the amount of people that will encourage you, or friends and family. I promise you, they will be really, really supportive. I think being creative in today's industry, where it's so easy just to not be that creative, so people generally do really admire it, I found anyway. And as I said, when you get to a place where you're confident and content in posting your work, then and you've attracted a bit of an audience, and if it's the sort of thing that I do, so animal portraiture work, you probably will start getting commissions. So you'll start getting sort of DMs on Instagram. Just be very careful, because you will get a lot of people that will try and ask for your time and your skill for no monetary value. And just be very wary that, you know, some people have got that mindset. They will message you saying, can you draw this for me, and not expect to reward you for your time. So I will talk about that, sort of doing free work in another video, because it's something that I have done in the past, and I'm going to be very open and honest with my art journey. But as I'm sure that you can probably tell, I want to be open and honest with you, I hope anyway. Right, so my third piece of advice would be, as an artist, I'm really, really easily inspired by what other people are doing, whether it's creative, whether it's in business, and it's very, very easy to get sucked in by their work and their journeys and how they run a business. I found it very easy to sometimes lose focus on what's important, which is obviously my own journey within my business and my career. For example, I can see a piece of work that I absolutely love that someone has done in oil paints, and it might make me think, oh, maybe I could give that a go. So the next thing you know, I've gone out and I've bought all the collection of oil paints, a ton of brushes and a load of canvases, and I've got back and I've spent a few hours trying to paint, and I've realised that oil painting just really isn't for me. And not only is this, or could be, quite a costly experience to go out and spend all that money on something that you're really not confident or comfortable in, but it could also possibly be quite a detrimental mistake to make. So you could lose motivation and maybe feel quite demoralised, which is, I know I felt like that in the past, and I've tried to branch out and go down a different route and it hasn't worked out. I felt quite demoralised and it's made me not want to work for a little while. So the moral of the story here is, by all means, it's a good thing to feel inspired by other people's art, by other people's journeys, by other people's businesses. But if you know your true passion is in, say, coloured pencils or pastels, then try and stick to that and hone that skill, hone that talent that you are creating and that you already have. So basically, stay in your lane and focus on you. You are the most important thing. So, okay, I think this is number 3 or number 4. It's number 4, isn't it? Okay, number 4. So number 4's piece of advice would be, and this can go across any business, whether you're an artist, whether you just want to go freelance in anything basically, but have a runway fund. And what I mean by this is work out how much money you need to live comfortably for a year. If you were to quit your job tomorrow and go freelance and not make any money for a year, you've got to work out before you do that how much money that you need to make in order to live comfortably for that year. So that's bills, whether that's your phone bill, whether that's your rent, whether that's your car, things like that. And work it all out, and then work out how much money that you need to have before you are able to give up completely your day job. So what I did for this is, I knew that I'm not the best at saving. I'll put my hands up, I'm really not. So what I did is I worked part-time at a pub for about a year and a half, and that gave me enough money to live comfortably whilst I was building a portfolio, sharing it online, and therefore started to gain confidence with my art and start getting commissions from the general public on social media. So just have some savings ready to go would probably be my biggest advice to any business. Make sure that you've got some money in your bank account in case everything goes wrong. So, and I feel like these points are sort of like leading on to one another, which I'm quite happy, I'm quite proud of this. So piece of advice number 5 would be, or is, things take time. As the old saying goes, Rome wasn't built in a day. This is so true with an art journey. So it's very, very unlikely that you're going to get a year's worth of work overnight, or your first print run is going to sell out immediately. If it does, I have great admiration for you, but it's very unlikely. Just remember that your journey with an art is just as important as the final destination. Be patient, be passionate, and I promise you, things will start to turn, things will start to change. You'll start noticing that you'll gain confidence, that people will start responding more to your work and the things that you're sharing online. But number 5, be prepared to make mistakes. In 4 years, I've made a huge amount of mistakes, but now I see this as a good thing. Definitely it is a good thing. If you can start to view your mistakes as lessons on what not to do in the future, you'll be in a really good place. And just accept that you will mess up from time to time. I still do, and yeah, I've been doing this 4 years. So whether that's actually making a piece of art, and I don't know, you might spill a cup of tea or a cup of coffee all over something you've been working on and feel really frustrated, but then you know not to have drinks near your artwork. Or you might order way too much stock for an event or a show and be stuck with it for years to come. I've definitely been there. So obviously that is more of a mistake within the actual running of the business, but they are all lessons that you can take forward and learn from for the future. Mistakes do not mean you have failed, so please never view them as such. And my last point, so point number 6, and it sort of links back to one of my previous points, but just be true to yourself. I know it's so easy to get cluttered in our heads and compare our art or our journeys or even ourselves to other people that we see online. And not only that, but maybe try and mould ourselves to fit what they're doing if you think that they're successful, or what you deem to be successful, or you really strongly admire them. You might try and copy to a certain degree what they're doing, which is fine to learn from, but don't make it your sole focus. Just remember that they are on their own path and you are on yours. It's a really good thing to feel inspired, but don't let it overtake you and become anything more than just that, inspiration. Be content with who you are, have faith in the process, and I can guarantee that you will naturally find your own path. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, and it would just give me a bit of encouragement to do some more things like this. And if you haven't, I'm sorry, don't have to watch it. But I really appreciate your time to watch this video, and I'm grateful that you're here with me on my journey. So again, it means so much to me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. Oh, this is when you find out that I'm literally in trackies. Apparently it's a YouTube thing.